Marcus Webb hadn't slept more than 4 hours in 3 days. His hands were rough from fixing fence posts at the community park, his boots caked with mud, his flannel shirt faded from too many washes. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Also, tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? He was 39 years old, a widower, a carpenter by trade, and a father who would bleed dry for his daughter Lily, who was 7 and used a wheelchair and laughed like church bells on a Sunday morning. The Maplewood Community Playground had been Lily's whole world, the one place in their small Ohio town where a specially designed ramp, a low swing, and an accessible climbing frame meant she could play alongside every other kid without someone having to lift her or apologize for her. Marcus had raised $12,000 for that playground over 2 years through bake sales, weekend fundraisers, and borrowing against the small equity left in his house. And now Raymond Colt, the billionaire developer from Columbus, wanted to demolish every inch of it to build a luxury strip mall with valet parking and a wine bar. The town council meeting was held in the old gymnasium on a Thursday night in late October, and the room smelled of folding chairs and nervous energy. Raymond Colt arrived in a charcoal suit that cost more than Marcus earned in a month, flanked by 2 lawyers and a public relations woman who kept smiling at her phone. When Marcus stood at the wooden podium and explained what the playground meant to Lily, to every child in this town who needed accessible equipment, to every parent who had ever watched their disabled child sit on the sidelines and cry quietly, Raymond Colt leaned over to his lawyer and said something low, and the lawyer laughed. And then Colt looked directly at Marcus and said loudly enough for the room to hear, "This is adorable." A handyman with a sad story and a GoFundMe. Next. The laughter that followed was not from everyone, but it was from enough people, and Marcus felt his face go hot and his jaw tighten. And he looked down at Lily in her wheelchair in the front row, and she was not crying. She was watching her father with wide, steady eyes, and she said, "Daddy, keep going," and so he did. He finished his 3 minutes. He sat down. The council voted 4-3 in favor of tabling the decision for 60 days, pending a community impact review, which felt like losing slowly instead of losing fast. Outside, as people filed out under a sky that had gone the color of charcoal, a woman walked up to Marcus and said her name was Diana. Holt and she had been set up on a blind date with a man from this town and arrived early and sat in the back and had genuinely laughed when Raymond Colt made his joke because she hadn't understood what she was seeing, and she was ashamed of that, and she was sorry. Before Marcus could respond, the gymnasium doors swung open and Diana's father walked out, a broad-shouldered man in his late 60s wearing a canvas jacket. And when he saw Marcus, something shifted in his face, some deep recognition, and he stopped walking entirely, and he stood straight and he saluted. Marcus blinked. The older man said, "3rd Battalion, 5th Marines. I saw your photo in the Veterans Tribute at the library. You pulled 2 men out of a burning vehicle outside. Fallujah in 2006, you got a Silver Star. And told nobody about it and came home and built things with your hands and raised a daughter, alone. And I have been looking for a way to say thank you for 19 years. The rain started then, hard and sudden, and lightning lit the parking lot white, and nobody moved. Diana's hand went to her mouth. The council members who had voted against Marcus had stopped by their cars and were watching. Raymond Colt, halfway to his town car, turned around. And then something happened that nobody planned or organized or announced. The parents who had been at the meeting began moving back toward Marcus, first 2, then 5, then 20, standing in the rain without umbrellas. And a woman named Carol, who ran the Sunday school program, said, "We're not letting this playground go." And a retired teacher named Mr. Osei said, "I'll donate my pension check this month." And a teenager named Brock, who had volunteered with Lily's adaptive sports team, said, "I'll get my whole school." And Lily, sitting in her wheelchair in the rain with her face tipped up to the sky and her arms stretched wide, laughed her church bell laugh and it cut through the thunder clean as anything. Raymond Colt stood by his car for a long moment. Then he got in and left without speaking. 3 weeks later, the council voted unanimously to protect the playground. Under a community heritage ordinance, Marcus finished the new accessible swing on a Saturday morning with 17 volunteers and a donated box of hardware. And when Lily rode it for the first time, she screamed with joy so loud that a neighbor 2 streets over came out to see what had happened. Marcus stood back and watched. Heron felt something loosen in his chest that had been clenched tight for years. Diana brought coffee and stayed all afternoon. Her father helped install a railing. Nobody saluted anybody again that day. But everyone felt it, the particular gravity of a moment, when ordinary people decide that dignity is not negotiable, that a child's laughter is not a line item to be cut, and that the right thing, done plainly and without applause, is still always worth doing. If this story moved you, please give it a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it today, and subscribe to our channel, Kindness True Stories, where every story is a reminder that goodness is still out here, showing up in the rain.